Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the April board meeting of the Milton Area School District. Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Frederick,
Here.
Mr. Hosterman,
Here.
Mr. Hunt,
Here.
Ms. Kessler,
Here.
Mr. Moser.
Mr. Moser will be arriving late this evening.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Strasser,
Here.
Mr. Harris. Here. Dr. Weaver.
Dr. Weaver is unable to make it this evening.
Okay, thank you. And Mrs. Rance.
I'm here.
Thank you.
This evening, our April Citizen of the Month is Charlie Kister. Charlie is a third grade student at Bacher Elementary. Her parents are Brittany Kister and her teacher is Miss Kling. He comes up. Would you please all stand? Join her in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good job. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you very much. We're going to begin this evening with presentations of our high school student recognition for the month of April.
Good evening, board. I'd like to start off with our Rotary Student of the Month for April, Jared Lehman. Come on up, Jared. Jared is the son of Ronnie and Michelle Lehman. He resides right here in Melton. The biggest reason we are celebrating Jared for April as our Rotary Student of the Month. He's a third-year member of our automotive technology program, and he's been an outstanding student in that program all 3 years. But the biggest reason is he is the epitome of what our diversified occupations and really our goal of kind of training to the workforce looks like. This year, Jared is working at Watsontown Trucking as a trailer mechanic. And the reports consistently throughout the course of his employment with them have been that he's just an outstanding employee. Not only did he go there with a good understanding of the skills that he needed to be successful, but he's growing and developing into an awesome employee for them. Where, some of the best remarks we're getting from all of our students out in the field are coming from Jared for his role within that company. And it's taken him to the point where next year he plans on going right into or continuing into his work with Watsontown Trucking, but working towards becoming a diesel technician for them. So in talking to Mr. Persing, saying he's a third-year automotive technology student, he works weekdays and is receiving that on-the-job training through the co-op program, where also his father works. So a little bit of a legacy thing going on there. Jared's also completed his SP2 training and will be working on his Category 1 Pennsylvania State Inspection license here in the beginning of May. Mr. Persing says his story is an excellent example of training to work excess. Again, out in the field, taking what he learned here at Melton and being just a great ambassador for our programs, himself and his family. Rotary Student of the Month for April, Jared Lehman. Next up, I'd like to call our Rotary Student for the month of May, Isaiah Day. Here. Isaiah is the son of Jeremy Day and Samantha Day, and he resides here in Melton. A lot of activities Isaiah is involved in, clearly baseball, as well as golf, basketball. He's also a member of our National Technical Honor Society, as well as the National Honor Society. He was a two-time district qualifier for golf. He's been the Distinguished Honor Roll for the past 8 marking periods. playing golf at Penn State Harrisburg next year, and he has obtained 7 varsity letters. Isaiah is a third-year member of our criminal justice program and selected by Mr. Davis as one of the top students within the program. Again, he's looking at going into Penn State Harrisburg next year, and Mr. Davis had this to say about Isaiah. I'm writing to you about one of my outstanding students from criminal justice, Isaiah Day. He is a student in my CJ3 class and has been a leader throughout his time in the class. Isaiah is a teaching assistant for me for my criminal justice 1 class and has done a tremendous job being a mentor and role model for the younger students in the program. He's a member of the National Honor Society, varsity golf, basketball, and baseball teams, and is going to be majoring in criminal justice at Penn State Harrisburg. Isaiah aspires to someday become a member of the Pennsylvania State Police. It is with great honor and pride that Isaiah Day is recognized as our May Rotary Student of the Month. Isaiah Day. All right, and now for our outstanding seniors. I'm going to start off with the month of April, and I would like to call up Ephraim Langdon. Come on up, Ephraim. Ephraim is the son of Megan and Kevin Langdon. He resides here in Melton. Ephraim is involved in a number of activities. He's a member of our National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, where he's also the treasurer, Outdoor Club, also the treasurer, FBLA. He was a state qualifier in FBLA. He's on the varsity soccer and track and field team, an active member of the CMF youth group, likes to go mountain biking, hiking, and camping. He has a running and apparel company called Feared by Hell, turning an old school bus into a camper and creating videos, and participates in the Boy Scouts. So a very busy young man. Some of his awards and recognitions throughout the years. Ephraim is an Eagle Scout. He was named the Math Student of the Year by the Math Department in 2022. He's been accepted into the Houghton College Honors Program and a recipient of the James S. Lucky Scholarship. He's earned a varsity letter in soccer and in track and field, and received the Daughters of American Revolution Good Citizen Award. Next year, Ephraim is looking to attend Houghton University, where he's going to be majoring in business administration. Clearly, he's already been dabbling in some of his own business ventures. So I did reach out to his teacher, Mrs. Emery Seibert, who's teaching him right now in Intro to Business, PC Now Intro to Business. She had this to say: Ephraim is a top-notch student, always giving 100%. He's a pleasure to have in class, and an excellent role model for underclassmen. Faced with adversity through a sports injury, he battled and fought to continue excellence in his academics. For FBLA, he chose one of the most challenging categories to compete in the state. Ephraim has a fierce desire to excel, and his determination will lead him to success in any path he chooses. Our outstanding senior for the month of April, Ephraim Langdon. And last but not least, our outstanding senior for the month of May, Seth Yoder. Come on up, Seth. Seth is the son of Rod and Deb Yoder, and he resides here in Melton. Again, a lot of activities. That's a common theme. These kids are involved in school. National Honor Society. He's a member of the Spanish Honor Society, where he's our vice president. The Outdoor Club, our president, member of FBLA, was a captain of the soccer team, and attends the Community Mennonite Fellowship Church and Youth Group, and has gone on various mission trips throughout his years. He's a 3-year PHAC first team all-star for our soccer team. He will also be attending Houghton University. Fun fact, that sits on the lake that was part of the district I taught in up in New York. So it's a small world to see these kids going up into Western New York, my old stomping grounds, where he's going to major in environmental science. I checked in with his Spanish teacher, Mrs. Hunter, who's had him for 4 years, to say a few words about Seth. Seth Yoder, or Mateo, as he's known in Spanish class, is truly an outstanding student. He does the right thing even when no one is looking. He is honest and hardworking. Seth is kind to everyone and shows each person respect regardless of who they are. He always does his best and is quick to help others. Mateo es un estudiante fantástico. I think that means you're a fantastic student. I had Mrs. Hunter, so kudos to her for still me remembering that. Your outstanding senior for the month of May, Seth Yoder.
We will continue with our district students of the month, beginning with White Deer Elementary School.
Good evening, board. It's my pleasure to bring to you again this month another tremendous White Deer student. Her name is Natalie Mitch. She's a fourth grade student in Miss Ferguson's class. I asked Miss Ferguson why she nominated Natalie this month, and she said Natalie is one of the hardest working students in her class. She asks for help when it's needed. She listens to what everyone says, and then she applies that to her own work. She's very happy and always brings a smile to class. I can say that I always see Natalie practicing respect and kindness. She's always very happy to help others with whatever is needed. And she has one heck of a stand-up routine that I saw this week that she's going to be bringing to White Deer's Got Talent next month. We're really looking forward to that. So an incredible young lady. I look to see what she does in fifth grade next year and beyond.
Our student of the month from Bacher Elementary School is Jolie Stump, and she's a third grade student in Miss Kling's class. Not only does she stand out in the classroom, but in the school as well. This is what Miss Kling had to say. Jolie Stump is a third grader in Miss Kling's class. On a daily basis, she demonstrates respect, hard work, determination, and kindness. She embodies natural leadership qualities. She has a spark for learning and pushes herself to not only meet expectations, but exceed them. She approaches challenges with determination, employs, and demonstrates a constant desire to improve herself as a leader and as a learner. She's a role model for her peers in using her pause to exhibit positive behavior. Not only does she demonstrate all these qualities in the classroom, but in the community and on the cheer squad and softball field as well. In fact, she is paving a path to greatness and takes great pride in being a Milton Black Panther. Jolie, this is for Miss Kling, but I will say this for all of us. You make us proud, and we know that you're always going to aspire to achieve more. Ladies and gentlemen, Jolie Stump.
Good evening, board. The middle school student of the month for the month of April is this young lady here, Hayden Snyder. Hayden is a seventh grade student on the 7 Black team this year. All of her teachers chimed in to talk about what a wonderful lady she is. They report that she is helpful, caring, and charismatic. Hayden takes initiative and pride in everything she does academically, and it shows with her consistent high marks. Hayden is also an active member of Webb, Student Council, and National Junior Honor Society. If that weren't enough to show you how awesome Hayden is, she's also involved in soccer and in basketball. Also, I just found out recently that this young lady has put her hat into the ring to run for president of Student Council, but she happens to have speeches prepared for tonight. No. Okay. She's going to be giving speeches to our student body at lunches tomorrow, and the voting will be on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, Hayden Snyder.
Good evening, board. Each month, when I listen to everybody talk about the amazing kids that we have here at Milton, I can't help but just smile like crazy, feel borderline like a proud papa in moments like this. And you hear of these great kids, but that's just a small sampling of the kids that we have here in our district. We're very fortunate. We have a great group of students, not just the ones that you hear from, but the majority of our kids in our building display a lot of these characteristics on a regular basis. And we're very fortunate to work with those kids, and a big shout out to the families and parents who have gotten their kids to this point. So for the high school, for our district citizen of the month for the high school is Eli Russell. Unfortunately, Eli was unable to be with us tonight because he has a baseball game, a JV baseball game tonight, but I told him I would be sure to make sure that I talk about him. So had two of his teachers that had this to say about him. Mrs. Ritchie, his art teacher, said, Eli demonstrates all the positive qualities of a Milton Panther, an extremely motivated student as well as an athlete. Eli constantly works very hard and earns high grades in all of his classes. He is a dedicated student and teammate, participating in baseball, bowling, and golf. Eli is a well-rounded student and athlete, but what really sets him apart is his positivity and sincere willingness to encourage and help others. Eli is proud to be a Milton Panther, and he demonstrates that on a daily basis. Mr. Blair's world history teacher had this to say about him. He said, Eli is great to have in class. He helps out with his peers on a regular basis and provides quality work each and every day. He also said this on a personal note, Mr. Blair speaking, recognizing that the Philadelphia sports seasons didn't end quite the way we had hoped this year. And he said that Eli was a personal support to him after the World Series and the Super Bowl. So he wanted to throw that in there. So, but our citizen of the month for the month of April for the high school, Eli Russell.
So our next wonderful celebration is regarding our Teachers of the Year. When I came to Milton this summer and I learned that this was something that's been tradition for many, many years, it was very exciting to know we were going to be awarding two of our amazing teachers with this honor. So I'm going to begin with our Elementary Teacher of the Year, Mr. Brian Black. I do believe Mr. Decker is going to say a few words, and we'll ask Mr. Black to come to the front to be recognized.
So I will say that Mr. Black, when I talked to him this morning, he said, you could just say this is Mr. Black and give me the award and we'll be done with it. I said, we're not going to do that. I wanted to get up here and start with a big old Mr. Black, like, are you ready? Which is how he starts every class. And then it's some ear piercing, yeah! Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter the grade level. The excitement generated by Mr. Black is impossible to ignore. The level of student engagement is an incredible asset for our district. Phys ed at the elementary level can be this necessary hook to get students through the door, ready to learn, ready to be excited. And Mr. B is an expert in engaging even the toughest students. Positive experiences with healthy exercises help promote these healthy, well-rounded students, and Mr. B does that and more every day. Allow me the liberty to say that it takes a lot to be known by a single name: Madonna, Pele, Neymar. To be known by a single letter, Mr. B, even better. From an administrative standpoint, I have to tell you, he's excellent because his answer is just yes. Hey, can you take doubles? We have a specialist who's out. Yes. Hey, can you go out and get crossing guard duty when we don't have one of our school board members to stand in? The answer is yes. Hey, can you do an extra cafeteria duty? Yes. Whatever it is, the answer is yes. And that's such a huge model for our kids. So his willingness to always jump in, lend a hand, do something a little bit extra, models the positive citizenship that he promotes every day in his classroom. Beyond that, he encourages students to become members of their community. through his Take a Hike program where kids were encouraged to go walk around with their families, take pictures, post them, through the shoe incentive where every cycle, if every kid in the class wears their shoes, they become eligible for a drawing. And he makes them balloon hats because Mr. B is also a legitimately certified clown, which I didn't even know you could have a clown certificate, but he does. But they come every day ready, and that's like responsibility that they're driving themselves. The American Heart Association Kids Heart Challenge, which I don't even know if you know this, but we just got the feedback back, $12,300 raised by Mr. B and the kids there. Well, by the kids at Bacher, but you're running that charge. So it is an honor. It's truly deserved for a man, an educator like Mr. B. I'm proud to know him, work with him, and present him with the recognition. Everybody, Teacher of the Year at the elementary level, Brian Black.
I'm going to walk this over to him in a second, but I would be remiss as a parent, not only as a superintendent, but as a parent, not to say 3 of my kids have had him. Every morning, the question is asked, "Their gym today?" Every morning, because that is a motivating force. And it could be anything else scheduled. Doesn't matter what it is. And if they're going to miss gym, they want to be at school. They don't want to do anything else. It just says a lot about who he is, the environment he creates, and we are so blessed to have him as part of our team. Next, we're going to welcome, I think, Mr. Scoggins and Mrs. Harris. They are going to award our secondary Teacher of the Year, Ms. Kristen Dolan.
So I'm really excited to get to share this with you. I've known Kristen, gosh, for a lot of years now because she started out coaching my own daughters. And this year I have the privilege of being her supervisor. And while I could talk to you all night about her, I want to give you a little bit of things that, first of all, some parents said, and then some of her colleagues said. So one of her parents said, "Kristen has been my son's teacher for a few years now. She is warm and caring and has lots of patience. She helps each student reach their potential and has a way of teaching that makes sense to them. She goes above and beyond their successes, and their success is her success. She is truly happy when her kids succeed. This will be my son's last year of school, and we're so blessed that Kristen has been a part of his life." Another parent stated, "We could not ask for a better teacher for our children. Miss Dolan teaches with all of her heart. She genuinely loves her students and appreciates every small accomplishment. She is a wonderful person in and out of the classroom." That could go on and on from the parents in her classroom, but I'll skip that and go to some of the colleagues that she said. "Kristen is one of the most caring and compassionate teachers that has worked in the Milton Area School District. For several years, she has been committed to her students, parents, and her classroom. She goes above and beyond to build relationships with each of her students and their families. Her patience and enthusiasm are 2 of her greatest qualities." Second person, "While there is no doubt of Kristen's strength in adding joy and enhancing the lives of students in her classroom, Kristen's sphere of positive influence is felt across the middle school. She sees potential in all students and fosters a sense of belonging and courage. This is seen most notably on the 7th and 8th grade women's basketball court, where year after year, teens grow with first-time players, knowing they'll be accepted for who they are and supported, challenged to be the athlete they desire." So I just want to add just a little bit from my perspective. So Kristen is an amazing teacher. As everybody else has said, she goes above and beyond in her role as an MDS teacher in our district. She always believes in her students. She pushes them to achieve their highest potential, and she is the biggest cheerleader for them when they do. Kristen's classroom is inviting and friendly. It's a welcoming, positive place for both students and adults. Whenever I'm having a particularly difficult day, won't even mention that I happen to be in her room today, this is one of the classrooms that I go to. I know Kristen and her students will provide me with positivity and smiles. And Kristen goes above and beyond for each and every one of her students, and she is extremely deserving of this honor.
So first of all, I want you to know how grateful I am to have this lady and her program in the middle school. It means so much. You heard a lot about the character that this professional brings to the table every single day. But I want to be a little bit selfish and build off of what Misty just shared with you. I too seek out her classroom when I'm having a tough day, because I know when I need to recharge, I can go into her classroom and kind of absorb the love that's there, because it's evident and it's every single day. And regardless of the situation, regardless of the day, regardless of the kid, you're going to get the same from her every single day. And that deserves so much recognition and so much gratitude. The Teacher of the Year is just a small step in that direction. Ms. Kristen Dolan.
Next, we have a special award that is not an annual award, but a very huge honor. I'm going to invite Mr. Stetler to the microphone to speak about 2023 Library Paraprofessional of the Year, Laura Spangler.
Keep having to move the microphone down. Some taller shoes. It is truly my honor and my privilege to be able to speak this evening on behalf of Mrs. Spangler, who really represents the best of our Milton community. Every day, almost every day, like 5 days out of the 7-day cycle, I get to see Mrs. Spangler's tremendous work with our elementary school students. The obvious love that she brings to the library, along with Mrs. Killian, is something that's really meaningful for me as a building principal. And Laura goes well above and beyond her duties as a library paraprofessional. She helps us every morning with student drop-off, whether she's at White Deer or Bacher. She assists with lunch duty every day in our cafeteria. She makes those meaningful connections with our students, and beyond that, our families. When books go missing, when those book finds go out, it's Laura who is reaching out to those families and helping our libraries recover those lost materials. I could go on all night about how tremendous of a person Mrs. Spangler is, but I know that she would not want that. Laura would like to go sit down right now. But it is a tremendous privilege for Laura to have been recognized by the Pennsylvania School Library Association for her hard work and dedication to our Milton community. And I can't think of anyone more deserving than Mrs. Spangler for her award. Great work, Laura.
I think next is our Panther Pride Award. Mr. Stetler, I think you're back to the microphone.
All right. Mrs. Stump was not able to join us this evening. Steph is our life skills paraprofessional at White Deer Elementary School. Again, a tremendous example of our adults in our school building using their paws. I can't say that there's ever been a time that I haven't seen Mrs. Stump practicing respect and kindness, acting responsibly, working hard, and staying safe. She has a tremendous love for our students in the life skills program at White Deer and is a calming presence in the classroom. It can be at times a tough population to work with, and even on some of their worst days, Mrs. Stump has that relationship to be able to soothe some of those behaviors and allow learning to still continue in the classroom. There is a tremendous caring from Mrs. Stump towards our students, and she helps them when they're out in the community. She helps them within our school-based community. She greets them off their van every single morning. So I could not ask for more from Mrs. Stump, and I'm so thankful to have her at White Deer and thankful that she had the opportunity to be our Positive Panther of the Month.
Okay, we're going to continue this evening with our student representatives, but before that, everybody left, but I wish to thank them all for being here. Laura, thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for making Milton proud and putting us on the map. It's a great pleasure and honor. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, board. It's a chilly day outside, but we're all in here and warm, so that's something to be thankful for. It was so great to hear about all these amazing people, and now you get us, the few but mighty. We're going to get started with academics. March 22nd was a Bloomsburg University tour for any junior or senior interested in going. March 30th was high school class meetings and a presentation on the dangers of vaping. April 12th through the 18th, benchmark 2 and CDT testing happened, as well as Keystone testing schedules will begin May 15th through the 22nd. April 19th and 20th, we have NOC-D exams in the high school Lit Cafe, as well as in their classrooms. And then scheduling for next year is ending this week for our students. And then Move It Up Day is scheduled for May 22nd. For sports, it's looking rough, but time to turn it around. Baseball is 2-4, softball is 0-6, tennis is 1-8, and boys and girls track and field is 0-2. Milton's April athlete of the month is me, and all of these words are in Mr. Harris's, so it's not me. For all of his hard work on and off the tennis courts, and he's very dedicated to his school and involved in a lot. Gavin Russell is a 4th season senior on the boys tennis team and has contributed to the team's 1-8 record with his performances in both singles and doubles. Also for track, we have the Selinsgrove Invitational on the 15th, and then Mackenzie Lopez, 1st in jav, Mo Reiner, 2nd in jav, AJ Went, 2nd in high jump, and then Ryan Bickhart, 1st in the 3x200. And then classroom antics. Sorry, it's a little hard to read, so hopefully I do a good job reading it for you. Miss Biddinger's class has had the pleasure of being able to experience baby chickens in the classroom, and they get to see as they grow and interact with the chicks, as well as Miss Biddinger's environmental health science class took part in a field trip to the Lycoming landfill, where they were warmly welcomed and given a tour of the landfill and shown its operations and how it affects our environment. April 25th, some students from Miss Biddinger's and Mr. Bittner's classes will be competing in the Susquehanna Valley High School Envirothon. And then on April 28th, Miss Biddinger's environmental health science class will be going on a hike to Ricketts Glen. We have FBLA state competition tonight. Nicholas Fleck and Alex Hoffman have advanced to the final round, placing in the top 15. And they must complete a case study. They must complete a case study in front of a panel of judges to determine their final place. The award ceremony begins at 7 o'clock tonight, and there is a link there where you can watch it. As well as Caitlin Davister, Abby Saber, Leah Willow, and Mercedes Farr will also be competing at states, and we'll learn of their awards at the ceremony as well. Arts, we have musical audition workshop. Musical director Stephen Aguirre is hosting a musical audition workshop on April 26th and May 3rd after school for any student interested in learning the basics for how to conduct yourself and what to expect at a musical audition. School events, April 5th was a scheduled meeting for anyone interested in traveling abroad in the summer of 2024 to Scotland, England, and Ireland. It's open to students 8th grade to 12th grade. April 20th, spring all-level band concert at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium, as well as April 22nd is a CTE Touch a Truck event at 10 a.m. At the high school. This is a really fun event for kids and their families to explore giant trucks, earth movers, ambulances, drilling rigs, and other massive mobile machines. May 10th and 11th is a district-wide art show from 6 to 8 in the high school gym. And then speaking of art, we have the Central Susquehanna Intermediate Unit has their very own gallery in its facility, which displays artwork from students in the local school districts. Milton High School art students Grace Young and Chloe Heinzelman were both chosen and awarded $300 for their respected works of art chosen for the CSIU art repository. Grace Young, hers is the one in the top right. It is a pencil portrait titled Sink into the Floor. And then Chloe Heinzelman's is underneath that. And that is a scratch art titled Shepherd.
So more for social, the high school students from Skills USA and student government collected candy for the Egg a House event, which designated houses and left them to take the kids their eggs for Easter morning. The students set up the egg hunt for 60 houses, and that came to a total of 2,800 eggs that were reused. And we covered them around Milton and Lewisburg areas. For Jocelyn Renaissance, on April 13th, students attended a first in-school program to try and blend many of the leadership programs into one. It was a very good assembly. I actually attended it. And this was one of the very first programs designed to better the culture and climate of the daily school life, framework in the building, and climate where teachers and students both love their jobs and to learn. On April 14th, John C. Mather, who was a NASA Nobel Prize winner, spoke at our school. And in the 1980s, Mather and Smoot were instrumental in developing the Cosmic Background Explorer for NASA, and the satellite was launched in 1989. The information was used to support the thought that the universe emerged from the state of a high temperature and density and the so-called Big Bang theory that occurred at least 10 billion years ago, and he spoke about that. Prom is very fast approaching, and the juniors have just recently finalized all of the details for 2023 prom. The event will be at Birchwood Venue in Milton on May 6th with the promenade at 6:30 and the dance starting at 7 and the crowning at 9. The theme this year will be Night in Nashville, and we also have our prom court announced, which includes Emma East, Alora Faust, Madeline Nicholas, Ryan Roush, Brooklyn Wade. And then for the boys, we have Luke DeLong, Xavier Minium, Dylan Reif, Seth Yoder, and Gabe Yost. Also coming up, we have the Powder Puff game again this year, Milton versus Warrior Run. This year, Milton will not be hosting, it will be at Warrior Run this year. And the student councils have, again, organized this. And the game will be on Sunday, May 21st, with the start time at noon. Upcoming senior events, they're also fast approaching. So on May 4th, they're going to have the Rotary Senior Banquet. May 12th will be the last day for seniors. On May 15th, they're going to have the Pocono trip, which students will participate in zip lining, rope courses, rock wall, and kayaking, as well as canoeing. And then the day after, May 16th, the seniors will have an opportunity for hiking at Ricketts Glen. Following that, on the 17th, the seniors will have opportunities for kayaking down the river, starting in Watsontown down to Milton. And then the 23rd will be the senior awards, with graduation following the next day at 7. And I think that's all we have for you guys tonight. Thank you.
Very much. Next is the middle school student leadership presentation.
Good evening again. I'm proud to introduce you two of our National Junior Honor Society student leaders in the middle school. Alexa Beers is the National Junior Honor Society president. Marley Lennig is the National Junior Honor Society secretary. These students attended a student leadership conference in Northern Virginia. They brought back information that they requested to present to the board to you this evening. So please welcome Alexa and Marley.
Good afternoon. As said before, my name is Alexa and I am president of NJHS. And with me is Marley Lennig, she's secretary of NJHS. We are here to talk about a program called Safe Bay. And in January, NJHS officers went to a leadership conference in Virginia. And The conference offered a series of leadership workshops, and while rotating through these workshops, there was one that really stood out to us. And in this workshop, Tori DeVito talked to us about Safe Bay. And next slide. And up here, it says, Safe Bay is a survivor-founded, student-led national organization whose mission is to end sexual assault among middle school and high school students. Safe Bay provides awareness about dating violence, sexual harassment and assault, affirmative consent, and survivor care. The students of NJHS are inspired to share more information with you so that we may adopt this type of curriculum in our school.
Hi, like she said, I am Marley Lennick, NJHS Secretary, and I'm going to share some statistics with you. By the time students are done with secondary school, 81% have experienced some sort of sexual harassment. 51% of sexual assault cases were committed against young women between the ages of 16 and 21 years old. And every 9 minutes, Child Protective Services find evidence of sexual abuse. And all of these statistics were found from RAIN.org. So this is what we wanted to start in our middle school. We wanted to start a life skills consent class because we need to start learning about consent in our life skills classes. Students need to be taught the boundaries and that it's okay to say no. Students need to learn how to handle a situation where someone's going beyond their boundaries of comfort. This curriculum is ideal to spread awareness about healthy relationships, dating and sexual harassment, and violence. A class learning about consent will benefit all students. Teaching consent is an important part of educating students about sexual health. It lets students know that their voice matters and that they have choices. It will also, thank you. It will also teach students to respect the choices of others. Children are often made to feel that they have no say in what happens to them, but Safe Bay can prevent this. This curriculum is ideal to spread awareness about healthy relationships, dating and sexual harassment, and violence. Something I would like to add is we already did speak to our health skills teacher, Mr. Frankel, about this, and he was all for it, and we are really hoping that we could start this in our school. So we understand that adopting a new curriculum can be challenging. SafeBay.org offers different options for curriculum training. SafeBay.org provides in-person and online classes to train teachers around the world on consent and how to go about teaching it. This curriculum is designed to address important concepts related to healthy relationship education and sexual violence prevention. The website also offers in-person or virtual expert speakers. Safe Bay curriculum pricing is available based on the number of licenses needed. If a change in curriculum is not feasible at this time, Milton has the opportunity to invite Safe Bay speakers to the school. Safe Bay offers expert speakers that teach about healthy relationships, consent, sexual violence, and harassment. All right, so I would like to thank you guys for your time. And before we move on, do we have any questions about Safe Bay or about the curriculum? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and we applaud you for the program. Thank you very much. Do we have any comments from visitors that are related to the board agenda item this
I don't
evening?
have any at the moment.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the business part of the evening. We'll start with the approval of the minutes. I'd like to ask for a block vote of those items listed from 5A to 5C. It's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions, corrections? All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All All right, thank you. So before we begin our executive report this evening, I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive. This is for personnel.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All right. There will be business when we return. So back. To end executive, excuse me, end executive.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, signify aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll begin with executive report this evening. Which one was that, Lindsay? Can you tell me again?
6A, please, Chris.
6A2.
A2.
Okay. To request a block vote for items listed under 6A. That's the exception of number 2. And also to include items listed in 6B and 6C. That was a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? We have roll call, please.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Can I just
Then-
comment that
Sure.
the 6C1 references flexible instruction days. Thank you, Dr. Kirkpatrick. Did some work on that. Mrs. Ettinger, that puts us in position to have that option as we move forward. We're keeping in mind a flexible instruction day is,
Days.
could be snow days, could be emergency days. We're just, not that we have to use them, but we're just, from a public perception, we will have the ability to use them should we choose to.
Thank you. All right. Under executive report 6A2, I'd like to recommend approval of contract for pediatric therapy services between SPM CW Williamsport, DBA UPMC Pediatric Rehabilitation, and the Milton Area School District effective July 1, 23 through June 30th, 2024. That is a motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Abstain, it's a work conflict.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everything for executive this evening. Let's move on to Finance Committee. Mr. Frederick and Mr. Moser.
Yes, I'd like to make a recommendation in the form of a motion for the approval of items 7A through 7D.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. 7A1, General Fund, Fund 10. I was looking at, I believe it's the bills that were paid. There was one for a media payment, and it was for the month. It's for January 18th, if I looked at it right, through March 31st for $6,712. And I asked what we did in 2 months to accrue $6,000 in media.
I don't have that answer off the top of my head, but I could certainly look it up. And if I have a second during the meeting, I'll bring it back up.
That's fine. Thank you.
Could you repeat again the number?
I think it was
7A1.
7A1.
Yep. And then, but what was you said the dates and then the number of the expenditure?
Yeah, so the dates look like January 18th through March 31st.
Okay.
And the expenditure was for $6,712.50.
Okay.
And I don't have that in front of me either, but I think one of the conversations or one that we've had recently after our conversation last month about social media and our media like pieces is to come to the work session next month with what we're doing when it comes to media and relations. I've talked, Mr. Jones was here, he's part of that team, our Panther media team. So we can look at that, but while, our intention is to kind of be celebratory of this is what we're doing, this is what we're, accomplishing and how it's working. So that is part of the
It seemed like
intention.
$6,000 was a lot for 2 months. So when I saw the amount, I just was curious to what it is.
Are there any other questions? There was a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
and Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nothing further under finance.
Move on to Facilities Committee. Mr. Hosterman and Mrs. Kessler.
You want to take this one?
Sure. Under facilities, I'd like to request a motion for a block vote on items 8A through 8B.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any questions? We have roll call, please.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
you.
Anything else for facilities?
Nothing further this evening. Thank you, Mrs. Rance.
Okay. Number 9, Athletics and Extracurricular Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Mr. Moser.
Rosa, you wanna take it?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion for a block vote items listed under 9A through C.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions?
We separate out 9C, please. That block vote.
So the motion will consist of 9A, 9B, 1. And we will remove 9C. Are there any other questions? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Let's make a separate motion for item listed under 9C.
The motion, yeah, sorry. There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Okay, could we have roll call, please?
I apologize. Who has made the second motion? Thank you.
Mr. Frederick.
Dr. Strasser,
No.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
No.
Ms. Kessler,
No.
Mr. Moser.
Present.
I'm sorry,
Present.
present?
Yeah, if somebody, just so you know, it's
Okay.
yes, no, absent, but people have a constitutional right to say present if they
Okay.
want, so just reflect it in the minutes.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you, Attorney Beard. And Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 4 yes votes, 3 no votes, and 1 present.
So I think, from a board perspective and from a community perspective, we recognize that the hiring of a football coach is a very public, very important aspect of what we're doing. I want to begin before I say anything and thank Coach Davis for, I think it's 2 decades he coached for the district. And his, I believe, 7 years as head coach and the time he spent with our students and, his choice to resign. We are in a time crunch on this position, and I think it's important for us all to understand that aspect. And we looked at our candidates. What I would like the board to then reconsider is I recognize that we could not do a full search from November through this time. And our students deserve to have somebody leading beyond just what we have as an acting head coach now. So if the board would consider, if we're not ready and we want to make sure we can make a full analysis beginning next November of the position, I would ask the board to consider hiring our candidate Kurt Zettelmoyer as the interim head coach through the entire 2023-24 season. And then we could open the position fully at that time to determine. So if the board would consider, I recognize, it's timing, it's a lot on all parties. But we do believe we want to move forward. It would give us that opportunity to see how the year goes. So I don't want to leave tonight without at least considering that option.
I'd consider the interim option. Was what we discussed.
We have a 4-3 vote? Yeah, it's 4-3, but it's, and I believe hiring takes 5 votes.
I
Right,
also
so-
would consider.
Yeah, and it's still, I think it's also important for the public to understand that our coaches are hired annually anyway. So we can begin to look at our process, at the end of the year as well. So, but if this is something that, again, it's a unique situation based on the timing, but I think we have the right people to move us forward for the year. And it just gives us a thorough look at from November on next year.
Change that, right? Doesn't change any of the details.
No, it would, you can ask.
It does not change
No.
any of the details
Right.
of the hire. Would you like to reread the motion? Changing it.
I'll let Eric.
Yeah.
Since you're introducing a new motion. Put it just in the existing motion.
Right.
Make a motion to change the wording from head coach to interim head coach. Second.
Open that for discussion to the public since it's a change.
All right.
Yes.
You have to ask the public if they're okay with the change. Do we have any public comment or? Okay. No comments? No questions from the board? Okay. It's a motion and a second.
Okay, Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Kurt is here. And when we all know Kurt, I want to congratulate him on that. I think he also completely understands the gravity of what we're about to do and the timing of it all. And I appreciate, the work he has already done and the work he will continue to do. So thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, Kurt. Anything else under? Education and Technology Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Mrs. Kessler.
I'd like to make a motion for approval for this item 10.A, decommissioning of the list of items that were attached.
So motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? We have roll call, please.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Is that everything for Education and Technology?
Believe so.
Okay. Personnel Committee, Mr. Frederick.
Yeah, I'd like to make a recommendation for approval in the form of a motion for approval items 11A through and including 11K.
Motion, is there a second? A motion and a second. Are there any questions? Any discussion? We're roll call, please.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mrs. Harris, introduce our new school
Jennifer, yeah, is
psychologist.
Jennifer here?
I am
Okay.
very excited to introduce our new school psychologist, Jen Yocum, who's here with us this evening. It should be a really great addition to our team. and we're really excited.
Welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate that. Welcome to Milton. All right. We have.
Nothing further under personnel.
Legislative and Policy Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Dr. Strasser.
So under legislative and policy, we talked last week about the procedure we use to approve policy revisions. You'll note the first set of 4 are the final readings, so they will be enacted following this meeting. The larger list under 12.c are the first reads, so we'll see them again for the next 2 consecutive months. Also the open records report. So I'd like to make a motion to approve as a block items 12A through 12C.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? I would encourage each board member to please go in and look at each policy, especially the new ones, and please ask questions. It gives you the first opportunity. It's the first read, so they're new and should understand very well what we're voting on. We have roll call, please.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser. Yes. Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes. Everything.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Dr. Weaver is not here this evening for a CSIU representative report, so we'll move on to the secretary's correspondence. Mr. Fink.
Unfortunately, this evening, I don't have anything to report out. No new grants or donations this month.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Bickhart.
I have a handful of things to go over. I think first and foremost, a couple of things I'm going to go over today. I want to make sure from the press side that gets, sent out and published. First and foremost, I think it's important as a school board and as a school district to be very clear that the Milton Community Pool closing has nothing to do with the district. There's been a lot of chatter, a lot of information going out that it is connected to the district, that it has anything to do with the building of the facility or the renovation at Bacher. That is not true at all. As a community member, I'm very sad the pool will not be open. My kids have enjoyed going there for many years, but please, from a accurate factual standpoint, it is not under this board of directors. Okay, that's it. Moving on. Ms. Kessler, the bus policy that you referenced, we are going to pool the current bus policies we have. We're going to begin to analyze those, looking at that, which then leads into why we know the realignment conversation we brought up is based off. That's a big part of that. Again, to announce to the public, we'll be promoting this more. May 1st at 5:30 in the high school auditorium will be the elementary realignment discussion. Again, we will push that out. Second to that, then the next Monday, May 8th, in the high school auditorium will be the secondary schedule meeting. We're choosing to use the auditorium. Hopefully we get people to come and be part of this, but they are the two, again, they're just informational meetings, but we want parents that where K-5 realignment would impact them or the 6 to 12 schedule, please come, please ask questions. We are beginning this process. And I assured the board that before May 9th, we would do those initial meetings. So by the 9th or 16th, I can report back on what we're hearing from families. So those two dates, again, May 1st at 5:30, May 8th at 5:30, elementary alignment first, then secondary schedule on the 8th.
Will that go out on Sapphire?
Yes, we're going to push that in any which way possibly on social media, on Sapphire, every way we can. From the press side, if they could, it's a big, I know there was a headline last week about realignment, so I think it's important. Okay, I want to, one of the conversations that has been going on recently is about the Pinpoint Wellness Center and the opening of that. And we recognize that the community has been told that will open to them. And as the superintendent, I apologize that we have not gotten it open sooner. There are a lot more aspects of this that, as I've embarked on it, that have come up. So we as a board are going to next committee meeting really review options of how that center will open. We currently have Trent Donlin, who is on our part of our CBAs, part of our teaching staff that is in charge of that waiver. One of the conditions of that as he was hired was the use of the community with him. We have looked at that. I presented to the board 3 options, one of which continues to use Trent in all aspects of that. It does present some difficulties on summertime opening, if he is absent. The other option B that we are going to explore is Trent still being part of opening to the community, but using someone in the summer to supplement some of the hours, but there's a cost that comes with that. Option C is hiring someone to run, a part-time worker to run the wellness center for various hours as we can explore, looking at evenings in most situations for people. We did a survey, we got feedback back, evenings seem to be the best. And we're looking at the cost of using Trent based on his salary versus the actual cost of opening the center. Another big important piece of this is as we explored and we looked at the options of opening the wellness center, we reached out to other school districts who have something similar, and we learned that most have a fee with it. Minimal fee that we're looking at $50 for an entire year for an individual, $75 for a couple. And then if you have kids, $10 per kid. Family of 5, you're talking less than right around $100 for an entire year of using that gym. Now, when we talk about kids, it's got to be 13 or older. We can't have, it's not designed for young kids. While there is a fee, we're also going to put fob access because of our door readers that we can have people be able to use it during those times. So there's, if somebody's in there in the weight room, who's managing the weight room, whether it's Trent or somebody else, they're not trying to cover the door. So we're going to explore this. The board is going to discuss it more in detail. When we come together on the 9th, we recognize how important this is, but we also need to do it right. We need to make sure we're organized and we have all our paperwork in place. I'll save it for that meeting, but I think there is benefits to each of the options on how we explore it, but the board will absolutely discuss that in detail on May 9th. Carl, any other comment on that?
That'll cover it.
Great. Bago projects meetings began. I had my first experience looking at the process that is used in those meetings. There's a specific formats. Some of you are probably more familiar with that than I am based off of this project. Very beneficial in just getting settled. The first meeting was much more of a, here's how the process works. We will meet next Thursday for the facilities committee at Bacher to discuss kind of the next steps as part of that meeting. So please join us from the facilities committee next Thursday, 8:15 at Bacher. We just talked policy. I would ask the board to really think about the policy regarding student representatives. I want to bring that for discussion next week or on May 9th as well. I think that's one, if we do approve on the 16th, I'd like to see us, really begin to discuss how that looks moving forward. Also, if there is any discussion on this document I gave you last week, that kind of puts us in position to, no matter what, explore our policies over the next few years. So we are on a consistent analysis basis, whether it's, like I said, reviewing or revising. So please, any feedback as we move forward would be beneficial there. Finally, our intention is on May 24th to have graduation outside in the stadium. But from a public announcement, I think it's important that we state it is our intention. There are some things we have to work through, including the fact that we are going to look at weather 48 hours in advance. If we think there is a chance of any type of rain that is going to impact us, we are going to have to, discuss that or look at that immediately. We feel good about that plan. We did discuss today our one concern, if, okay, it looks good. We wake up Wednesday morning and there are all of a sudden thunderstorms in the forecast. We're going to attempt this. This is our plan. I commend Mr. Berge, Mr. Rance. It's a task. We're going to have to all come together as a district to make this happen. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to plan for it. But just to be very clear, that's our intention. We will keep the board updated on the 9th and 16th if anything changes. Comments? We'll do our best, right? I know. There's a lot to it. And that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about that quick? Is it still going to be a ticketed event?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We tend to use the home bleachers as the audience seating for narrow hole. According to the capacity, about the same.
Any other comments? Motion to accept Dr. Picart's report.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Are there any comments from board members this evening?
I have a comment. So we were told, I think it was 2 months ago, maybe a month ago, about the CRSE that will be coming in July and taking effect. I did a little research on it. And basically it stands for culturally relevant and sustaining education and is being pushed across the Commonwealth. This is to teach students what to think instead of encouraging students on how to think. This is being pushed from the DOE and the former Wolf and current Shapiro administration. These guidelines are set to go in effect on July 1st in every school in the state. I think we should file a separate lawsuit or join the 40+ schools in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area and across the Commonwealth, because this is a violation against the First Amendment of the Constitution. And I swore, like each board member here, to support, obey, and defend the Constitution.
Can I say something? Sure. Mr. Hunt, I presented out in Pittsburgh, I believe it was in the second week of March. There was a representative from the Department of Education. My theme was that this was overbearing and it could be problematic. And I was told that the department, now, of course, that is unofficial, that's standing in my presentation before I begin, that they were going to rethink that, but I haven't gotten confirmation that they are. And that's probably why those lawsuits are proceeding. So I completely understand.
It's my understanding, I think that the lawsuits that are there, the Department of Education has 30 days to respond to them.
Yes, that's correct.
So I don't know what that time frame was when that was filed, though.
I think it's still, most of them are still pending. I know, like, I think 3 or 4 today even filed suits. They were primarily in Pittsburgh today. But I think if this is something that is going to be pushed, I think this is something we should definitely look into, because it is going against the First Amendment, and every board member here swore to defend it. So I think that's something we should really consider down the road.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other board members? Do we have any comments from visitors on items not on our agenda? All right, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Thank you.